Hello, everybody. So I looked at what I said I was going to talk about. I thought it was a good idea. It's a big subject. So the heading was Understanding the Magic of Feng Shui for Your Personal Growth. So does anybody here know anything about Feng Shui? And we could do it by, this much, or you've read and know a little bit more. So put your hands up and say medium, small, large. There's a hand, various. So few of you have read books. I don't know whether anybody's studied anything. So I'm focusing on that aspect of it because it's a huge subject. And in that I said I would talk about how you can bring synchronicity into your life. I said I would talk about some golden rules, power of intention, and how your home really supports you in creating a new story. So I thought perhaps I'd just start with how I came to be in contact with Feng Shui, how it lit me up really. And so therefore how I was introduced to it being a powerful change engine in my life. I was at a point, 1992 maybe, where I was a seeker and I was in breakdown looking for breakthrough. I don't know, has anybody ever been in that place of breakdown and looking for a breakthrough and having a breakthrough? Well, that's where Feng Shui showed up in my life. I don't know whether I called it in or I found it or it found me, but I came across a teacher called William Spear from America, and he became a mentor and a friend. And I had tremendous difficulty in finding any information back then. There were no books, there was nothing. So I came across him, I studied with him, and in my process of moving from one iteration of me in a time of great change and transition in my life, and this is where Feng Shui is really useful, and we are again in a time globally, for all of us, in a time of great change and transition. I had a passion for transformation. So I was sharing with people all the resources that helped me move from my breakdown to breakthrough, sharing those. And I created a personal development center in London. And that was back in '94, which really was early. And I don't think people were quite ready for that. I think what's happening now is people have a hunger for change and transformation, and there's a lot more available, isn't there, Anne? There's a lot more available for people now, and they kind of know how to buy it. But at that time, that was really difficult. And I'll just show you something funny. Share screen. Okay, quickly going to share my screen. I'm going to share my. Here we go. Quickly. Oh, share. I've got to press the word share. I'm just going to show a couple of slides, not the whole thing. Play. Okay, I think I go to the next one. Okay, that's the healthy home. That's my retreat house, which I'll perhaps talk about later. This was the, I think it was in the Guardian or the Evening Standard. They did a cartoon send up of the Personal Development Centre, and it was called, we called it the London Personal Development Centre. They called it the Empowerment Emporium, which I really loved actually. I thought it was great. And this guy walks in, and that's me at the desk and my assistant Robert there being lampooned. This guy says, I want to develop myself personally. What workshops have we got? Let's see, we have creative inspiration with Jane, a former advertising exec turned aromatherapist, become a sacred clown with Carla, bungee jumping, history don. So it really sent up personal development. The kind of personal developments are here now. Anyway, the story goes on. He did a drumming workshop and it caused him a problem, and he came back and I recommended another workshop for him. Anyway, what happened at the time of that personal development center was, in there were Feng Shui workshops. And in the January, the Daily Mail did an editorial on how you could change your life using Feng Shui. And we had 900 phone calls in 5 days. This is pre-internet days. I don't know if the internet worked, but we certainly didn't have email or websites. And that was what people wanted. They kind of, all of this was interesting. They didn't know how to buy, but if they could move their furniture that's what was interesting for people. So we, from that, created a whole program, tapped into that hunger for Feng Shui. And I'm going to take off my screen now because I don't need to have this for a few minutes. And how do I do that? I go back to Zoom and I do stop share.
Unshare.
And we don't look at that picture all the time. It's interesting. I made a declaration. This is so powerful to make a declaration. I remember at that time I was a member of because I had a PR company, I was a member of the Institute of Public Relations. And I remember thinking in this transition point of change where I was no longer going to be doing that, what to let go of in that old life. I don't know whether you've been in that situation where you're kind of moving from one iteration of yourself to another. And then I realized, I thought, I want to put Feng Shui on the map. I really felt that that was the right thing to do. And I made a declaration that I would do that. So I maintained my membership in order to apply for an award. I'd been a member for 10 years and it had never come to me as an idea before. And I remember making that declaration. And what's interesting is the power of that, because I didn't then go around and do any particular Feng Shui placements for that. But I made a very intentional statement, and 3 years later, we won a PR award for putting Feng Shui on the map and getting it in virtually every magazine and newspaper. And I remember also the feedback loop of doing things and then finding something happening. So there was a day where I remember looking at I had a tall plant, and I think it was leopard lily or something. It had a tall stick in the center, and the plant was growing around. I noticed that the stick was this high, and then one of the stalks, fronds or whatever, had grown, but they had no way of it being supported, so it had fallen down. So I picked it up, and it was literally about 3 foot high, so I got another stick, and suddenly my plant was twice the height. And this plant was a placement in my fame area, because there are different areas of your house, office space, that relate to different aspects of life. And what I was then doing, by realizing the full potential of the plant, by extending it with a new frame, I was putting more potential, as it were, more energy into my fame area. And within an hour, I was called by BBC Newsnight to do a news story. I thought, oh, that is scary. That is powerful. And they came and did a story on something. I think President Clinton was consulting about personal development in the new year or something, and they came in and did an interview. So it's interesting when you're playing with this intentionally, of doing things and getting that feedback, and continually did that. We did more and more courses and trained people as like a first generation of Feng Shui people, practitioners. And what I learned from that process of taking people from being a banker to a Feng Shui practitioner, with what they had to learn, was the main learning, the main teaching was about people putting their own house in order. It was less about information and then doing things for other people. It was putting their own house in order, because when your own house is in order, then it's eminent. You are then available to help others do the same thing. But it's very hard to do that until your own house is in order. And I remember traveling. Bill Spear lived in America, and when he came over to London, do consultations with him, and we would go out and do maybe 6 in a day. And I'd sit with him, and he'd go through a series of questions with the client. And after a while, after about the 3rd consultation, I said, they all got the same problem. Everybody. They've all, how can that happen? He said, they've all got the same problem because that's the problem I'm working on. Mm. So that was his issue. And in a sense, the client was showing up to help him resolve it. It's an interesting way of looking at it. How we externalize the relationship we have. And this was time after time rather than now and again. So it really is about putting your house in order. And what the Feng Shui did for me was it helped elevate my life. and really helped me with my personal growth. It gave me a vocabulary. It gave me a pathway. It gave me a way of seeing the world. And you can get that from, you can move through life with various modalities, but that was the modality that I have embedded within me of how I relate to the world, in that how I relate to space and how space relates to me. So I said I would talk about, I think I'll give you 4 things to help you understand what Feng Shui is, and I'm going to dip back. I've got a few visuals here, so I'm going to dip back into that, which I think I know how to do.
Sure.
Press keynote, there we go. And press the word, forget to press the word share.
Sure.
And then I do play. I can find the word play. Okay. So Feng Shui, the actual words mean wind, water, literal translation. I've just 2 images here of wind and water. It's really about, you can see with the lake, and in a sense, there's no movement, but of course there is movement. Water is always moving, but it's that gentle movement. There's a gentle movement of water within the lake. You can't really see it. And then here is the sea. This, you really can see it. So you can't always see what is moving, but there's always a current there. So that's the literal translation of the word Feng Shui. And it's about qi, whatever, qi has many words, but it's about the invisible breath. It's about something that's moving. It's only when it touches something that we can see it there. Otherwise, it's highly invisible. It's a Chinese name, and there's a lot of history in China, but it's universal. It's a way of understanding how we interact with life force, and every culture has a language for that, and it's called Vastu Shastra in India. In Western Europe, we call it geomancy. There's many different ways of naming it, but it's universal because energy is universal. It's just like religion and spirituality. There's a way of looking at something, and there's always that something, and it has many different names. So it's universal, and the name may not be. It sets you up for synchronicity, which means being in the right place at the right time. If only we know what the right place is and what the right time is. So in terms of place, I've got an image here that shows you form school. Form school is a way of Feng Shui being arranged by the shape of things, the form. Here, the typical is you don't build at the top of the hill, get blown by the wind. You don't build right in the bottom of the valley and get flooded out by the river or the sea. There's a perfect place to be protected by the mountain, that's basic. And then another form of Feng Shui is called compass school. And that's really working with astrology. It's highly complex. Classical Feng Shui, flying stars, it requires a lot of study. It all works. But this is less available to people, the classical, because you are reliant on an expert who has done a deep study of what this is. This is a Luopan, Chinese compass, which I bought in China. And I don't know how to use. I don't even know really how to use easily the one with the English name, with the English names on. But all the data is there, and it's incredible. But it is one way of looking at timing, astrology. When you're born, where you're situated, to know how everything aligns, that it affects your luck. So whilst that is important, sometimes we can tune into luck and timing through our intuition. We have a feeling that something needs to happen, and we go with our, if we're used to listening to our inner voice, that's where it tells us that now is the time to act, or now is the time to wait. But in terms of place and shape, that's what we've got more control of, our space. That is what we can do ourselves, so that it's much easier for us to put ourselves in the right place at the right time. Here I've got a picture. This is the healthy home. This is I wrote my Feng Shui book based on living here. It was smaller at the time, and it's got bigger, and this is the healthy home retreat, which I also wrote the healthy home book about this house here. Okay, I'm going to talk about another key aspect about Feng Shui is that it gives you personal power. If you've got the right space, I'm going to go back here because that's what I'm talking about. If you've got the right place that you're living in, the right room, the right setup, the right environment, then it gives you energy. It supports you in what you're doing. If you haven't got that, if you've got something that diminishes your energy, then you use more of your personal energy to cope. So it's not sustainable. So you always need to make sure that where you live and how you live is well taken care of. So it acts as an embrace, as a holder for you and your energy. And your home reflects you. It's another layer of you. And here, home is where home is where your story begins. It is where your story begins. And I used to live in London and Yorkshire. I lived in the Healthy Home and also in London. I kind of moved between the two. And there came a time where, in another one of those life change points, where I wanted to move forward, but neither home really worked for me. I needed a new container for my life. I needed a new story. And I didn't know that I could create it. I didn't feel I could create it in the home that I had, living in two places. I just needed to live in one place. Now, having lived in the centre of London and then moved up to Yorkshire to give me some time in the country and then come back to London again, that way of living became unsustainable for me. And I knew that to create this new narrative for who I would become would require a new container. Just because you're making a life change does not mean to say you have to move home, and that might be the case for some people, but it might require some kind of change in your living arrangements or how you have your home so that it then works for the new you, because you and your home are so interdependent that it's sometimes difficult to make change without literally just moving the furniture around and changing. Energy, that's one of the key things about Feng Shui. It's really based on energy, and that energy being able to flow. So, you learn how to manage your own energy, whether you do exercise or, whatever personal training you have in meditation or coaching, managing your own energy, your emotions, your own physicality, your spirituality. You can't do that in isolation of your home. You have to understand how you manage your home so that it supports you. And a lot of this is intuitive. You kind of know when your home isn't right. You don't need somebody to tell you that it doesn't work, but you can get out of balance and then lose track of what is right. But, over the years, I've had people ask me questions about what color they should paint something, what they should do, and they're fearful of making a wrong decision because they've read something in a Feng Shui book. And then when I've asked them, well, what color would you like to paint it? What would you like to do? Well, this is what I want to do. Well, then do that. Do what you want to do, rather than the book says facing south, it should be green, and then you end up with a green wall. That is absolutely not the way to work with Feng Shui. It's understanding what you put into the space to create it, to make it yours, to create the mood and atmosphere that you want. It really has a big impact on you. And it really, I've got here talking about, it's really about quantum physics. So much about science now proves what Feng Shui can do with this invisible world of energy in our homes and our environments. And I just thought this was just a great image of, the energy within us and it's spiraling out, the physics of possibility of making things happen. Just like I said earlier on, that I made a declaration in a space that I was working in with Feng Shui. If you make a declaration and you move it out there, then in a sense, you unconsciously arrange your environment to match up with the declaration you've made. And you can go around your space and move things around to fit what you want. Calibrating it. Now I'm going to go through, how am I doing for time? Yeah. I'm going to go through what I called 6 golden rules, because I can't teach, I can't go everything, and I don't know, we're not really in a dialogue here for me to know what you already know. But it's interesting that when we first started teaching the Feng Shui in 1993, I think 94, with William Spear, he had a weekend called the intuitive power, the transformative power of intuitive Feng Shui. Intuitive Feng Shui, what he was teaching was this understanding about how our energy affects everything. And we used to take the first day, all of Saturday, to do the what's called a bagua, which was the energy shape, and how you would overlay that as a template over your home, like a map. Some of you may have seen that. We'd take a day. By the time we did the 13th weekend, after about 5 or 6 years, we could teach that in half an hour. Now, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know whether you know the term about morphic resonance, the morphic field. The more you put something out there, the more you teach it, the more it goes into the field. And then when people are learning, they're drawing down from an understanding. It was amazing. I've seen that on a number of occasions, but I know that I did 13 of these weekends over 5 or 6 years, and I know how long it took. So we would put more and more material into the weekend because people were learning more quickly. Either that or people were generally just getting smarter. I think that's what it was. So 6 golden rules. All the thoughts you have, patterns, conscious and unconscious. It's the as without, so within. That our home will reflect. It really will. You can read people by what's in the home. So our outer world very much reflects our inner world. So, thoughts, if you've seen anything of what The Field and Lynn McTaggart's work, thoughts leave us. They don't stay in our heads. And they then mix with this energetic world around us. And if we work with that space in an intentional way, that's where we can get things to happen. Now, I mentioned I lived in 2 houses, and I'm just going to share this quick story of my house in Yorkshire, and I go down to my house in London. And if something happens in your home as a one-off, it just happens. But you could ask yourself, this has happened, I wonder what that means. Because when we used to do consultations for people, you can see something broken in the home, you can see something at home, and it will tell you what's happening in their life. When it happens to yourself, you can't. It's like a blind spot. You can't always see it. So in the healthy home in Yorkshire, the boiler broke. The boiler breaks, and I go down to London, and the boiler's not working. So, the washing machine breaks in Yorkshire. I go down to London, the washing machine's not working. What else happened? I'm driving we've got 2 Volkswagens, one in London, one in Yorkshire. I go down, I'm driving to the station in Yorkshire, and my Volkswagen Chiron makes a funny noise as I'm parking it. And I notice the hubcaps come off. And I get down to London, guess what? The car is missing, same thing. The hubcap's missing and the car's making a strange noise. So it went on and on. So I always had to look at myself to see what is happening in me, in my life, that in the outer world, this is the result. And I was going down to London for like 5 or 6 days over Christmas. It was a Sunday, and I got a call. I was in Yorkshire, and I got a call from a policeman who said, Ms. Lazenby, yep, I'm in your home in London. I've just broken into your home in London. And somebody's tried to break in, and I've actually finished the job because they didn't get in, but they damaged the door, and I've come in to, would you like me to make the house secure? I said, well, yes, please. So they got a company to seal the house, and they took the keys to the police station. So I'm now in Yorkshire, about to leave for a week. And of course, my first thought is, I'm just getting my first thought is, I'm going to be broken into in Yorkshire, obviously, because these things happen. So I then made a phone call to the police to tell them that I was going to be broken into. And I had to give them this story. Bless them, they sent a policeman round. He spent 2 hours with me going around the house, checking everything, telling me where I was vulnerable. So I took my disc drive down. I just made sure I was safe. I went down to London, did the London things, came back up north, came to the house, everything seemed fine. I walked all the way through the house, and I walked to the kitchen. And in the kitchen, I've got a glass door, and then halfway up the door were all these sticky marks. So I went out to look why there were sticky marks on the door. And I went out and I looked back at the house, and at the same level, which would be hip height, all the ivy had gone from the house. It had all been eaten off the front of the house, all the foliage. And so we had actually been broken into. but not by humans, you see. Being broken into by sheep. That's who broken into the house. And so in that case, it's not that if you get broken into by humans or sheep, it has a specific meaning you'll find in a textbook. You have to ask yourself in what way your boundaries or in business or life are vulnerable. And we'd taken a stone wall down, we'd increased the size of the land, and we had an insecure fence on the edge of the land that needed to be more secure. So, you have to ask yourself the question, what is it, the message that's been given to me? What can I get from the information that's here? Because mostly things don't happen for no reason. There's usually some reason why something is happening in your home to give you a message in your life. So your home is very much a mirror. And the thing about working with the universe, working with these forces, is sometimes it's really important to slow down. There's a synchronicity story of this. It's just very much a book that was for me. I needed this book, and it kind of dropped into my hand. But you kind of need to slow down so that the universe can give you what you've been asking for. Otherwise, if you're too fast, if you set things up, it's this thing about synchronicity and about being in the right time at the right place. You've got to slow down so that you can actually receive some of the goodies that, you've been asking for. The second golden rule is understanding how patterns repeat. And in this fractal fern, there's the pattern within the leaf, and it unfolds, and the whole of the leaf is made up of small leaves. It's the same pattern throughout. And this is how things unfold. And so this is what happens in your home. Watch out for patterns that repeat. I've seen in homes where there's been a crack in the steps going up to the front door. I've opened the door, there's 2 doorbells on the door for the couple. This is a house that I did a consultation on. And then when you went into the hall, you can either go left or right. There wasn't a clear way forward. And the bedroom had 2 doors in it. I mean, you see, in that house, there was a replication of energy being split. And of course, that is exactly what happened to the couple. So you have to see something and you see where it happens again. See where see where that unfolds. I remember being in a hotel and I washed my hands, and then I had a long way to go for the soap. The soap wasn't near where I was washing my hands. And everywhere I went in that hotel to do something, I had to stretch myself. So you go to the bar to order something, and then the barman would go a long way away to go to the till. So I could see the problem with the business from those simple interactions, because those incidences are things being not put together in a logical place, that this happens and then that happens, this happens and then the other thing is over here. It meant there was a problem in the business. Do you get my drift about that? So it's always good to ask yourself the question, what does this mean? And it's okay not to know, but to ask that question. And, what is being put into the space here? And what's important in Feng Shui and what's important in anything is to ask the question. You don't need to worry about the answer. It is the asking of the question, because then the answer will appear in your head. It will come, somebody will give you the answer, and it may not be immediate, but it's always good to be in that inquiry and ask the question. Number 3, golden rule number 3 is everything counts. Everything has an effect, and clutter being in there, you can't get away from the fact that I just thought this is delightful, this picture of somebody's house, because that people really do live like this, overburdened. There's too much in the space, can't find things. And life is transformed when things are put back into order, put in the right place, things are given away that aren't needed, they're got rid of. it really does help. And over the years, there's so much feedback that we've had of people who, we used to do a clutter clearing workshop with one of Judy Piax's Feng Shui authors, Karen Kingston. We used to do a workshop with her, and on the way out, we used to give people a black plastic sack to take home with them. And then we'd get calls of people go home, clear clutter, and money would appear, all sorts of things would appear. When you're clearing the space and taking things away, as that space opens up, fill it with an intention, because the universe likes, nature doesn't like a vacuum. So don't just empty it and make space for. This is where you invite in with great intention something that you want to have happen, something that you want to move in. So everything in your home counts, and we often see this with art. I wonder if I don't think I put that picture in actually, no. But I remember seeing pictures of people who are burdened. It was I remember a picture of an old man carrying shopping. He was quite bent. It looked quite hard for him to do that. So if your unconscious mind is responding to all the imagery it's being given, and if you've got things where you don't quite notice it, and they're not positive images for you, then whatever that is, it could be a picture of hard work. It could make your unconscious mind think, I have to work hard. So look around at the imagery you've got. You can't say that something is good or bad. It is whatever it means to you, but being burdened is generally not something you would want to have in your space. The next one, the next of the four is fixing things that are broken. You can't hide from the cracks. You do. It encourages clutter. It encourages stagnation. All those things need fixing, because from the fractal point of view, there is something broken somewhere. I remember when I was doing the Feng Shui house book, we're interviewing clients to work out who was going to be in the book as an example of each thing we were looking at, bedrooms, whatever. And I went to this house and we were looking at the bathroom. And when I went to use the toilet, he said to me, oh, now to flush it will flush, but to flush it, you have to keep flushing it, and eventually it will flush. So, okay, and that's him, I'm moving the handle. And then when we talked about his life, and I asked him about what was happening in his life, and I asked him about money flow, he said, well, by the end of the year, we do get enough money, but we worry about it in between, we worry along through the year, when it will come in. And in a sense, he was, through his vocabulary, describing what was happening with the toilet handle, and water is to do with money. So you kind of have to watch out and see where that energy pattern is showing up. Oh, that's it. That is the image. That's the image of the man. If you have that as a piece of art, it's just an interesting thing to have in your space, pushing something uphill. And it's amazing the pictures some people have of the really, when you point it out to them, they go, yeah, gosh, no, I don't want that energy. And it could well be an example of the problem they have in their life. I forgot to put that in. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying there, is that the power of images. You really need to look around and see exactly what you've got. Now we talked about energy flowing. Energy must flow, and if it doesn't, it gets caught in stagnation. This is just a picture here of a free-flowing river, except where there's an obstruction, and then in the obstruction, the energy gets caught, the water gets caught, and we've got scum there. You can see that because it's water, but you can't see it when it's energy because it's invisible. But if you've got, like that clutter picture, too many things in the space, the corridor is narrow, a dark corner that never gets lit, there's no energy moving. You've got to keep the energy moving. You've got to keep it moving within your body. You've got to keep it moving within your home. Keep it fresh. Keep it nourished. Otherwise, it stagnates. It gets heavy, pulls you back, and it's difficult to move forward. Okay, okay, this is the book, the Feng Shui House book, which came out 22 years ago. It's long. You can't buy it in shops, but you can buy it secondhand. So I'm just going to show you here a few images from the book. This is just here. It just shows you movement of energy. If you have doors lined up, the energy goes in one door and out the next. It doesn't nourish the room. It doesn't come in and nourish the room. And here, this just, you know, it's moving energy smoothly through the property, through the rooms. And here, this is just an example of sitting under a beam. You can't see it, but the energy, there is equipment now that kind of can see this, but the energy, it dips down when it has a beam, and you know, particularly if you're sensitive, the energy moves down, and that's why, and it presses down on you. That's why you would never really, by choice, want to sleep under a beam, because it's putting energy down on your own energy field. And this is an example from the book of a house where, you know, they explained their life to me and their experience of living in the house. This was their dining room. This is the before picture, and this is the after. I mean, you know, they didn't eat in, you know, it wasn't very inviting. So we brought colour in, warmth. Orange is a warm, happy colour. A round plate with round fruit. All these things are inviting images, fresh plants there, and a nice picture. It got them to use the dining room in a way that they just weren't doing before, because look, it just wasn't appealing. This is their bedroom, cold, not very inviting at all. This really was their bedroom. And so what we did in the adjustment of it was bring warmth in with a red throw. You always need a headboard anchoring at the back of the bed, a chair in the corner. That chair, it's, you know, create spaces in your home that are invitations. It's sitting there waiting for you to just sit quietly, meditation, read a book, a plant on the corner there. There was a sharp edge with the wall pointing at the bed so that the plant was there, warm the bed up. So Feng Shui changes don't always involve taking walls down and doing something major. It's tweaking the space so it feels softer, more comfortable. This one here is the view from the bed, of a double bed, where one person in the bed is looking at the wall and one person is looking down a corridor. What you don't want to have, particularly for a couple, is an uneven view. You would need to see the same view. And this is the remedy. Rather than one person being in the bed, because there's nowhere else to put the bed, one person's looking at the bowl, one person was looking at the corridor. So we evened it out, and so put that curtain across. So then that was the cure, the fix for balancing the energy in that space there. This was the bedroom of a young woman who was engaged and getting married. And she was having cold feet. And so what we did in that room, there's a picture there of a very mournful girl. Can you see in that corner? She was very mournful. There's dead roses there. Again, you know, stagnation, lack of movement, old energy. Don't keep old dried flowers, certainly for more than one season. Don't keep them year after year. Old flowers, no. You don't really want mirrors at the end of your bed. So we changed the room and we brightened it up. We put a warm rug on her feet, keep her, so she didn't get cold feet. Changed the imagery to look at, made it more pleasing. And yeah, it really worked in the room. It worked for her. This is an image of a bedroom for a young girl who, I can't remember what age she was, but she was in that transition point of child to teenager, you know? And so this is a child's bedroom. And so we changed it to an older girl. You know, there's the hat there. There were less soft toys. The excess books that weren't for her age range were taken out. So help the child grow up, you know, help the movement forward in life through, there are more life transitions when you're younger, by making the space more appropriate. And what we did, and the curtains, yeah, the curtains, there was a rock, the horse went, the curtains had babies on, and they were changed to something prettier. And so this is the same bedroom again. This was the bed for the young child. The bears and the dressing table were changed to just more girly, less childlike. This same house, actually, this was the spare room. The family called it the spare room. The husband called it his office. It's interesting, isn't it? One room with two names. So already there was a conflict, because he got upset when they were doing things in his office and they thought it was the spare room. And then when I asked them in terms of how the space was viewed, so how we could shift it to make it work for everybody, How many times was the bed used in the spare room in a year? I mean, like 10 times, hardly. So it wasn't worth keeping the spare bed in that bedroom. So we changed it and we put a day bed in. We covered the basin in the back with a screen. There's a day bed, so now it can be sat on, but it can be used as a bed. This is another view of the same room. This was his office. Now, he was an actor who went out and did commercials. He had scripts, and so he didn't have an office that he worked in all day, but the place that you go out into the world from sets the tone for the day, is the foundation for your business. So it needs to work. It needs to work really well. Otherwise, you're not leaving from a really balanced, solid foundation. The accounts computer was there, the bed. He used to arrange everything he needed for the day on the bed. Absolutely the wrong energy. So we took that, we changed it to this. Got the accounting set up on one side. We gave him a seat to read his scripts and a desk all laid out for his diary. So it's perfect. It was all laid out exactly for the use. And this is what's important to do is, what do you need the room to do? What do you need your house to do? Are you changing? And therefore you need to make changes in the home that you perhaps didn't notice until you take a step back and look. So it helps you through a transition process, and it helps you do what you're now doing. I remember doing I've done consultations with people where their office at home is full of certificates from the previous career. They're moving into another career and they don't have the imagery for the new career around them to the same degree as all the old stuff. So all the old stuff goes and the new imagery comes in, and it helps in that pulling forward into the new. Let's just see what I've got next, see if I've got anything else. Oh yes, this is an interesting woman actually. This woman, I don't remember her full story, but I remember she felt judged. And look at those stern faces looking at her when she goes to bed. So, all those, have you behaved well? Have you, all those judging faces, very stern. And a lot of books, if you go to bed and the last thing you see is a pile of unread books, it kind of gives the message, you still haven't done all this, you've got that to do. So don't have, and all the ones on the floor as well. So don't have too much of something around you when you go to sleep. And this is how it's changed. Protected the space from the rest of the room and put images of couples. She was actually single and didn't want to be. So we put some different imagery there and flowers in the hearth. So change that room there. Okay, this is a lovely picture of Yorkshire where I lived. And the last couple of pictures we've got time for is, this is my kitchen. This is where I'm standing. And I just put this in because the power of nature, bringing nature into the house. I love plants. And when I moved in here, I moved from a house where I had a bit of a conservatory. And in a sense, I made the shelf my conservatory. And there's something else you can do is when you bring your intention to something, like weeding nettles, it's a job that you don't want to have to do, but you weed the nettles. And at the same time, you can overlay onto that you're pulling out the roots of something, this is what you're doing. You can add, because we're meaning-making machines, we can make anything mean something. So you can add that to it. So I grow money trees here. They just keep growing. And so I grow them, enjoy, I give them away. And I also think, I'm making money. I'm kind of adding to my wealth just by investing energy and loving my plants, and they grow there. And actually, you can you just see how much that's grown into? Literally, it's covered all that in the last 2 years. So also, when I created this is an extension I built onto the home. It's a tiny kitchen, built at double the size. My goal here was to fill it with light. And so I've got the windows facing the afternoon sun, it streams in, and I've got 3 skylights. And I think the next, you see, that's the window there. This is the light coming in. And my whole house, I've looked at how I can bring light in through the windows, how I can use light, in light fittings, in corners, bringing brightness, bringing illumination, and that's all adding to my sense of well-being in the house. And this, I do actually love my kitchen. I love my plants I've put there. Now, I had the idea of I love trees, and we respond to being in nature, but we also respond to images of nature as well. So having strong images of nature indoors adds to your well-being. And I bought this picture because I wanted to have a trial run of having it on the wall, because I wanted a whole wall. I'd seen a whole wall mural, so I bought that. Then I saw these and I bought those, and I thought, oh, I could definitely live with these. So then I bought this, which is a sunrise in a forest on my lounge wall. Hence, I didn't have space for the glass shelves and I had to put them in the kitchen. But that feeds me every day. It has an emotional, spiritual, and physiological effect on me when I see that sun coming through there. It doesn't matter what the weather is like outside. That is a way of nourishing me, and I absolutely love it. I think I've come to the end of the picture now. Oh, and that is actually an example of a picture. In the time we had, I couldn't go through the Feng Shui energy map, but when you want to expand a space, when you want to expand it, putting a picture where you've got a path going into the future. If you imagine that was a picture of a bowl of fruit, it would just be there. Your sight would go to the fruit, that would be it. But to have a path going into the future, it leads you forward and it takes your energy, and therefore it expands the space without doing anything. It's like an optical illusion. Okay, everything can be changed.
Love it.
Nothing is carved in stone.
Love it.
Everything can be changed about your home. This is a strong message. You know, nothing is fixed. You can anything can be changed with the intention, you know, of understanding that, you know, you can stand back and look at your house and you think, oh, this no longer fits me. I need to move. This no longer fits me. I need to make adjustments. I need to throw some things out. I need to bring a new style in. You know what it's like. You've only got to hoover the lounge and move one chair and the room feels different. There's so much you can do with the energy of your space. So I'm gonna stop there, because then there's things we can do and I can take some questions. I think I've finished. Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Everybody's still awake.
Thank you so much, Gina. That was fabulous.
Let me stop sharing. How do I do that?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I've done it, yeah.
Okay, and I'll go back to gallery view for everybody so everybody's seeing everybody else. That was fabulous, Gina. Thank you so much. So interesting. I'm sure there's some questions. We'll be sharing our own experiences in our groups just now. Has anybody got any questions for Gina?
Yes. Sorry, I'm the one where you're sealing the ceiling. I'm Teresa.
Hi.
Hello there.
Hi, Teresa.
And Gina, do you come out and do people's homes? That's the first question.
Well, yes, near me ish, and not now. Well, I do them online, because we can't go to anybody's home, can we? Easily.
Oh yes, of course. I'd forget about that. Yeah.
It's amazing. The whole world's gone online now. It's amazing what you can do. But yes, I can do that.
Yes, thank you. Second question, do you start off with a bagua? I think that was what it was called.
It's an energy map, and that's useful. It's useful. And remember one of the things I said about patterns. Sometimes it doesn't matter where it's happening. You can see the pattern, you can see the issue. But, you know, everybody's got different questions about what works and what doesn't work. And one way of finding it, and one way of creating a solution, is to look at particular places. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, the energy map.
If you Teresa, for your information, you'll find Gina on thehealthyhome.com. Thehealthyhome.com. Anybody
and also Googling me as well. Gina Lazenby, yeah.
Trina, you've got a
Trina.
question? Trina?
Well, well, I don't really have a question. I just would like to say to Gina that I've been on a Feng Shui course years and years and years ago, but your delivery this evening has just been brilliant. Thank you. Just
Yes.
want to say thank you. It was just so.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could not apply that to some area of their life. So thank you. That's the most helpful.
Trina,
Yeah.
lovely, thank you.
Definitely.
Could I ask a question?
Yes,
Gina, sorry, Gina, I think you said that you needed a headboard and a footboard for the bed. Can I ask why, please?
Not a footboard. The blanket at the bottom of the bed, it's like a warm edging to the bed. Often,
Right.
you know, just if you look at a style of a room, often rooms now, they have like a, what do you call it when you put it over the end of the bed?
Like a throw type thing.
Throw it as another word, but anyway, it's kind of nice finishing. Headboard, it's just a support, like a protection behind you.
Right, okay.
Especially when you sit them in bed, it is nice to have a headboard. It's a finishing for the bed. Footboard not needed and an inconvenient for tall people, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a question about, I've got a client, actually Emma and I have got a client between us, we found out today, who's got a problem in her bedroom. She can't, the energy is really, really bad in her room. And I've given her lots of things to do, and I know Emma has too, in clearing it. But I was just thinking to just now, she thinks the energy comes from the next house. So it's a flow of chi that's disturbing her. And I was just thinking, as you talk about the pictures, if she puts up a really good painting or something bright and light on the wall where the energy is coming in, would that be the best thing to do? Or is a mirror or something like that that will reflect the energy back the best thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't put a mirror in because you're starting to play around with energy and you don't really know what it is. So I wouldn't put a mirror in as a cure. It could be geopathic stress. We didn't even get onto that subject.
Yeah.
Energy coming from the earth in waves. There are places where if we had choice about what we did on land, we wouldn't build there because it's, you know, you can see the trees off at a funny angle, and the cows don't eat, the sheep don't eat there. The energy is different there. There's underground streams, so it's called geopathic stress, and you can douse for that, and it can be shifted. But you can sometimes see it along the street where houses are dilapidated. You know, there's a lot more stagnation there because the energy is more challenging, and there are other areas where it's really bright. There's no geopathic stress at all. So as we build in places there we wouldn't do if we had more space, we end up building in places where the underground energy as such is a bit discordant, and it can get amplified. And yes, it can move into people's homes, it can go through their bed, and it can really disturb their sleep. So dousing into that would be potential for that's what I would do. I would douse and find out what it is. And then you can put a Helios machine in there, and it puts out a balancing energy and calms the space. It's all sorts of things you can try.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we've only skimmed across. You know, I said I would like do some golden rules.
Yeah, no, this is perfect what you've given us, because you actually did say, you know, you change the energy with the light, bring the light in. I think she needs.
Yeah. Darkness. You know, you can just feel it when you think about it. It's like turning a light on and brings brightness to a space, brings life. Yeah.
She reminds me, I think I should put my light on. I'm getting darker and darker. Has anybody else got any questions?
Well, just a quick comment regarding geopathic stress. I mean, I live in a floodplain, so there's not much I can do about that. That's geology. But what was interesting when you mentioned that water, because I allow it to flow, because the clay holds water, and my garden, I live in a high water table area. And there's nothing I can do about it. It's geology. But what I can do for my attitude is just let it flow. And it's rather than sort of getting frustrated because there's nothing we can do about it. Civil engineers, no one.
No, I understand that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your house. And there's also vibrational changes you can make. I mean, you're kind of making one by, you know, not being resistant to it. But there's also things that you can do to change the energy of the space. That, you know, it protects your space, as it were. There's things you can do.
Yeah, I'm higher a bit, but it's the area around it. The water, it rises.
Yeah.
and it just goes back down again, and it rises and goes back down. It just does what it does. It's just, it's, you know, it's done it for thousands of years, long before, you know. I mean, the Romans, I believe, they used to, before they put settled down, they used to put grazing sheep and animals to watch where they were.
Absolutely.
Whereas,
that's exactly. And if you find somewhere that didn't work, they wouldn't. So just because there's that water there doesn't mean it's a problem. What can be a problem is crossing lines.
crossing lines.
Yeah, two streams, you know, and and it's not just water. So just because you've got a lot of water there, it doesn't mean that there necessarily is a problem at all. But you can douse to see if there is, and that's what dowsing does. It tells you whether there's not just water, but vibrational energy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the geopathic, because it's not. It's not an issue, but it's not stagnant. It's flowing, but in its own way, and it's anyway. But dowsing. Thank you.
Thank you. Has anybody else got a question?
Yes, I have. Barbara here. It's about the question of her house where you come in, Gina said you come in and then you go to the left and you go to the right. But the energy's coming in and there's a stairs going up. If you go to the left, say to the kitchen, and the right to the sitting room, how do you prevent that energy? The energy is coming in through the front door and splitting, or going up that stairwell. What do you do? What do you do to alter that?
I think that would be your average home, that you come in and you have a choice to go somewhere.
Yes.
You can direct the flow by having, you know, it's more obvious that the carpet takes you and there's something at the end of the corridor. There is your attention, there you go. And when you want to go upstairs, you go upstairs. The point I was making about that house was it was unusual. It's unusual to have two doors into a bedroom. One is the kitchen, one, and also it was looking at the front door. But going in, it was like, I don't know where to go. There was no stairs. It was just two places.
Oh, right.
Into the lounge and the corridor. So that was why it was unusual. And compounding meant everywhere I went, I was split, not just once. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. You can amplify by making it so your eye immediately goes to the kitchen if that's the direction of flow, but there's no conflict with having the stairs there. That's the right. Okay. Don't worry about that, Barbara.
Thank you.
I just got to confirm your point so much about the declutter, and I remember there's something I put in my Healing Negative Energies book. I put in about decluttering, and it works. I sent a lady to declutter her home and decorate her home, and she'd been depressed for about 3 years, and I said, I think you should just try smartening up your home, just get rid of anything that's in the corners. And she did. She said she'd had masses of stuff, old newspapers, dead plants. She was a classic, you know, and it definitely worked. She came back to me the week after and she said, it's already started to work. I feel so much better already. So I think that if you do nothing else but declutter, I've decided I'm going to throw out all my old files. I can't wait to get going at it now. Because it gives, I love that idea that you create space for something new. Yeah.
Let things go.
Get rid of something and you get.
I think Val and Jill had a question. Is that right?
Yes. Who is it?
Val's got. Jill's got. Yeah, Jill.
I as you were talking, I was really engaged with it. Things like you mentioning lighting and just talk about decluttering, keeping spaces clear, everything in its place, having a place for things. A lot of these things are similar to good ergonomics. Do you see them as overlapping with your work, or are they separate entities?
No, I mean, absolutely good shape. I mean, we've gone to a lot of effort in the house to have rounded corners, training the builders rather than make a beautiful, nice, sharp corner to make it rounded and the energy flows. I mean, there's a lot about good design where people have no knowledge of Feng Shui and they go, oh, yes, I can see how that would work. But it's all about making energy flow well. And there's a lot of things you can get right in your house without any knowledge. You just know what works. You know, you just want to do that. Works well. And sometimes people can make mistakes or make compromises and don't realize that can make a bit of a difficulty. But I think intuitively we know a lot. Yes, there's lots we can finesse. There's a lot we can learn because we haven't grown up understanding the importance of space. It's not really been part of what we're taught. But yeah, absolutely. Designing an ergonomic space is absolutely, yeah, right on. Great job. Al, you were going to ask a question.
Yeah.
You're on mute though. Mute, unmute. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. I was really fascinated with all of that, and thank you very much indeed. A simple question, really. I missed number 6 of the golden rules, and I feel as though I need to have the golden rules.
You've only got 5 golden rules, you're stuffed. No, that's number 6.
One of the problems being stuffed.
Energy has flow.
Number 5 was about the power of image and the unconscious relating to images. Number 6 was energy flows.
Oh, okay. It was actually number 5 I missed out.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it. But
yeah, because I didn't name it as number 5 because I saw the man with the boulder. I forgot about him.
He rather tasty though.
He was. Yeah, I can understand somebody wanting a picture of him. He was rather tasty, but he was pushing a big boulder up the hill.
That was amazing.
It's amazing the kind of pictures people have. I think one other person had their hand up. Was it Sashi?
Yes, Sashi. Sashi has a question.
Yes, lovely. Thank you very much, Gina. That was really interesting. When you said about having a mirror at the end of the bed, why wouldn't you have a mirror at the end of the bed? Because I've got my dressing table there and the mirror facing.
Mirrors expand. If you put a mirrored wall at the end of your room, you'd think the room was twice the size because it expands space.
Right.
And so when you don't have a mirror there, the space gets smaller. When you put a mirror at the end of your bed, you're expanding. And when you sleep, you contract. Everything comes in, your energy contracts. And then when you wake up in the morning, you uncurl and your energy expands. You don't really want to expand your energy while you're asleep. So it may not affect you in sleep. You could try it by just putting a scarf over it and just see if your sleep's different.
That sounds really interesting.
In a room is mirrored doors. The whole room with mirrored doors. That's more troubling than a mirror at the end of the bed in a dressing table. But try it, just see if there's any difference in your sleep. But that's why it's about expansion.
I do have mirrored wardrobes on the other side. Is that a problem? It's to the sort of to my right.
Job for Rick.
It's expanding space, and you know you might be a light sleeper. You might sleep without them. You can always try putting something across them and see if you sleep differently.
Okay.
I sleep in a bedroom with, I don't have clothes in my bedroom. You know, I know it's a luxury to have clothes somewhere else, but my bedroom is small and I sleep there. I don't have the energy of clothes. A long time ago, I decided I didn't want to do that. I was able to find, you know, rather than have a master bedroom with everything in there, I have a small bedroom where I sleep and then my clothes are somewhere else. So everything has energy and all affects how we are. And you can't always have ideal. You know, you can work towards ideal. You do the best you can with what you've got.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, we do the best.
Lovely. Okay, is that everybody? Right. So what I'm suggesting do now, I'm going to do a very, very short meditation just to send you some vibes for your home, and then we'll break into groups. Okay? So just relax and just visualize your home, or if most of you I think will be in your home now, where we can just allow you to expand your energy out to include your home, which is we usually bring ourselves in, but tonight just want you to think of your consciousness to include your home. So we're going to put around your home a golden light to hold the energy strong within your home. Just drop your shoulders and relax. And bring in the very highest frequency of light. And as I bring in these energies, just think to yourself now, where in your home Do you know that you need flow where you need light? So bringing in the light now and bringing in the energy of light and love and bringing this in through you to expand into your home now. And just take it to every room, every corner of every room, up into the roof. Take it to its extremities, the whole house filled with this love and this light that's coming through you. Just think to yourself what's broken and what reflects what's broken in you, what needs healing. Send some energy of light and strength and healing to that aspect of you that is mirrored by your home. Combined energy of you and your home, healing now, right now, right now, healing anything that's broken, healing it now, right now. Any area in you that's fear, see that reflected into the darkest corners of your home. And we're bringing in the light now to heal your fear and the darkness in your home. Healing now, right now, right now. Filling you with light, filling you with love. You're a conduit for this light. It flows throughout the home. And if you share your home with others, let's see this light touching them and bringing them into balance, bringing them into a state of peace and calm. Peace and calm throughout the home. Harmony between everyone and everything in your home right now, right now, right now. Now visualize yourself planting your money tree. Visualize you planting it now and see it growing and see and feel abundance coming into your home right now, right now. The intention set. And just imagine yourself now opening all your windows, drawing back all the blinds, all the curtains, and the light streaming in, streaming into your life, streaming into your home. Right now, right now. Filling you and your home with love, with light, right now.